Fellow club members, just a few words before the judging to give you some insight to my thoughts, as it is difficult to say things in just a few sentences and with no preamble. A lovely set of images, and it is always a pleasure to look at others' works, even if they don't score highly. I just want to mention that I judged these on a flat screen monitor, which does show things a bit differently to a laptop or shiny monitor, which do tend to enhance color and blacks and appear sharper overall. As I don't know what you edited on, just try my comments, recontrast, etc. And if it doesn't work or you are happy with the image as is, that is fine. Suggestions don't always work. I am just passing on what I think will. I find using levels in Photoshop really good to just add that little touch of contrast to an image, and it also enhances the color. Mostly my black slider will only move to 2 to 4, sometimes just a bit more. The white slider also gives you a good indication of whether you can just slide it a little as well. Look where that graph tapers out. Small touches make a big difference. Same with cropping. I also use a dodge and burn method with the history brush to just add a little bit of depth to an image. Sometimes overall adjustments can be given a boost this way. If anyone is interested, let Eric know and I will send through a Word doc of how I do this. Mono usually needs more than just turning the image into black and white. This is where the above methods can really make them stand out, even with high key. When cloning, it is really important to ensure that the brush hardness matches the area, as well as the subject. When putting subjects into other backgrounds, think of light, and also if using the Select Subject tool, use the refining methods so that you get a much more realistic image. Enjoy your evening. Please remember, it is not sheep stations. We all love our photography, but not all of us will get the same feeling for an image. I judge on how the images touch me, what feeling they give me, as well as the technical. Some might have similar processing errors, but one could be stronger emotionally, for example, and thus score higher. But being out there, pressing that shutter is the best part in my books. Thanks, Tina. Classic Melbourne. Tony Sobolewski. Lovely old-style architecture, and the person adds the extra element. Conversion feels flat, so a boost in contrast would enhance the image. It is a very slim but very bright edge on the right. I would crop that out, and am wondering if we needed quite so much on the roof, could maybe crop just a little off there as well. Plus I think a very subtle vignette will draw the eye to the person in the frame. 3 points. Acceptance. Glass plate reflection. Lisa Guy. This is quite interesting. But we shouldn't be taking a picture of someone's artwork without an extra element to it, so maybe a wider scene to show some of the environment would be better. Your title says it is a reflection, though that is hard to tell. So I will accept this one, as it is a touch tricky sometimes as to what is and what isn't okay. It is lovely and the play of light shows up the artwork in an interesting way. But I wouldn't enter it into any external competitions. Good processing. 3 points. Acceptance. Highland Cow. Mike Jones. I really like these cows, they make great subjects. And while I do like the cow, the editing is showing very cut out edges. It takes a lot of skill to be able to replace a background with black with hairy animals. Subject select on its own is rarely successful except with hard edges, and needs extra work. Exposure and crop is good, such a cute face, and good detail. Just need to either keep a more natural background, or build on those skills if you are going to use stark black. Maybe even just darkening a natural background in gradual stages would work better, still keeping strong focus on the cow. 3 points. Acceptance. Lady Madonna, Julie Phillips. This image is a contemporary type image, and a genre that I struggle to understand. So we have the lady at the hairdresser, but I can't figure out what the correlation is with the woman behind leaning over. Apologies, but I just can't work it out, and I don't know if it was deliberate or just that she happened to be there. I do get the crown effect of the background painting on the lady getting her haircut though, and that is clever. Good detail. 3 points. Acceptance. Steampunk girl, Stephen Matthews. A lovely model, like her costume. However, while you have done a pretty good job, she looks put into the background. Nothing wrong with placing people in different backgrounds, but the telltale signs are her hair is quite hard-edged, so has a cut-out look, and the light doesn't match. The light on her is quite strong, and she is casting a shadow onto her shoe from her coat, and from her leg onto her coat, etc., but there is no shadow of her at all in the landscape. I like the idea, just needs extra work in editing, or choosing backgrounds that have similar light. Good clarity on the girl. 3 points. Acceptance. Winter silhouette. Baden Smith. The tree is silhouetted against the mist, sky nicely. A nice base to the image. Not sure what the artifacts on the right are though. The image would be stronger if the tree was more to the left in the frame. 3 points. Acceptance. Mother and daughter. Gil Hayes. This is really cute. If you cropped this, wonder if you could have just leave a bit more space on the left to balance the feet in the frame a bit more, or you can extend the side a bit in PS. It is good being off-center, but maybe not so quite so much. Just be careful of your processing, there are some hard edges and a white contour, giving the impression of background replacement, but it is not overly obvious. This will be a lovely image to look back on when the child is an adult. 4 points. Highly commended. Port Fairy Harbour. Anne MacDonald. What a lovely spot, so much to be able to shoot there. I like your composition, good exposure. Horizon is a bit off-kilter. I feel this image could also do with a small play with contrast to bring out those darker tones and add more depth and drama to the image. Small tweaks can make such a difference. 4 points. Highly commended. Sheltering the Fleet. Daryl Starkey. Another interesting spot. I like this image, well taken, but I think cropping off some of the bright water would be good. That way the attention stays more on the boats and lovely clouds in the sky. Also add a subtle linear vignette to the bottom as well, just to take the edge off the brightness. Horizon is slightly off, and I think it could do with a touch more contrast to add a bit more depth to the scene. Not much. Sometimes just moving the black slider in levels to 3 or 4 can make a huge difference. Lovely detail throughout. 4 points. Highly commended. TSS Earnslaw. Judy Dawkins. The boat is well placed in the frame with room to move into. I like the processing, but in this instance, I think increasing shadow detail on the dark areas of the boat will provide a bit more detail of the people and the insides of the boat. It feels just a bit too dark. 4 points. Highly commended. Waiting for a puff. Bob Goodwin. Square crop suits this image, nicely taken. Depending on what your vision is, as there are some subtle pale patches in the black. You could boost the blacks to remove this. It should not really affect the white areas much, can always give the whites a tiny boost, and then the image has a punchier feel. You won't be looking at the background then but just at the seed head. Good detail. Nice shot. 4 points. Highly commended. Early morning stroll. Margaret Sobolewski. Nice processing on this image to give depth. Looks like it's a bit of a foggy morning. Good placement of the elements. 6 points. Merit. Is it a bird? Margaret Sobolewski. What an interesting building, and well taken. This type of image works well with strong contrast, so I think you could play with your white and black sliders and create more drama to this image. Good detail and crop. 6 points. Merit. On the move. Rob Dawkins. Well taken image, in a nice environment that suits a steam engine. I feel the image could do with more contrast work. Good composition, we don't always have to see the front of the train, and good detail throughout. 6 points. Merit. Stairway to the Top. Jenny King. Well processed image, and by taking it from low down, your eye automatically walks up the stairs and then explores the bits on the side. Good image. 6 points. Merit. Fun in the Rain. Sharon King. Fun image presented in a more high-key style. I quite like the presentation of this. Nice placement of the main elements in the frame, like the cheeky grin. 9 points. Honors. Going My Way 1. Teresa Johnson. A very well executed image. I like the processing and a good crop. While cars doing burnouts are not my thing, and if I was that girl I would run a mile, I do really like this image and the title adds a touch of humor. 9 points. Honors. Here's a handful. Teresa Johnson. A fun shot, and yes, ponies definitely can be very strong-willed. Good crop and processing. 9 points. Honors. Mr. President. Anne Starkey. Lovely portrait, handled exposure well, nice crop, detail and processing. 9 points. Honors. The Dude. Eric Anderson. Lovely candid shot, good eye contact, good processing. 9 points. Honors.
Lake Sandstone. Bob Goodwin. I am assuming the white bits in the trees are birds and nice light on the trees. Unfortunately your image is blurry, and can only think of too slow a shutter if handholding, or by mistake a small movement of the tripod if using a tripod. Nice spot to try again. 1 point. Not accepted. Tulip sunset. Gil Hayes. That is a nice natural looking sky you have here. But, my apologies, I don't know what you have done to the rest of the image. I am guessing maybe a filter of some sort. Everything is out of focus, which looks odd when the sky is in focus, and there appears to be some weird things happening in the image. Some look like cloning and there are parts where there is thick black edging. I don't want to nitpick and point them all out, so I will just say have a close look when you get home. There are many styles of art out there, but this one didn't work for me, I'm sorry. I think starting again A Splash in Time. Stephen Matthews. The red is good against the black, but the composition could be improved if you had the watch a bit more off-center, further down, when you took the image so you have room for the drops. As is, clone out some of the bottom as I don't think it adds to the image. A bit of a tidy up on some highlight spots would be good, and a vignette to smooth in the blacks onto the watch will help. Well-timed image. 3 points. Acceptance. Coal Mine Creek Falls. Gil Hayes. Pretty fall, and I like the use of the slow shutter speed. I think a crop off the bottom and right would make the waterfall just that bit stronger in the frame. It is good to include foreground to add depth to the image, though it is out of focus here. My main concern though is that it appears you have merged two images together, or cloned, and it hasn't quite worked. There are areas where the blending, or cloning, has caused a mismatch. If blending two exposures of the same image, be sure to use the Align Images feature in PS before working on the image. If cloning, you need to be sure the sharpness and texture suits the area you are cloning. Pretty place. I hope you can go there again and have another play. 3 points. Acceptance. Eastern Yellow Robin. Bob Goodwin. Love these birds, and they are not easy to get like gulls. I like the close-up crop, but I have a feeling that maybe the crop was a bit too much, or something, as the image is a bit soft, and for images like these, I do find it important to have the eye sharp. Sometimes downsizing can also cause images to be a bit softer than the full size. Quite often I will sharpen a little just before downsizing or choose a different downsize option in PS. Good exposure. 3 points. Acceptance. Emeralds of the Forest. Anne MacDonald. Good to not always take the whole scene, but to concentrate on part of it. I can't remember what it is that is growing on, in the water, but it gives a bit of a surreal type feel to the image. Color space does feel a little out, as some of the shadow area has purple tones to it. It does feel a touch busy as the foliage seems to blend in with each other a bit. Good composition. 3 points. Acceptance. Japanese Garden. Margaret Sobolewski. A nice view through the screen to the garden beyond. It is a bit dark. You can bring out some of the shadow of the screen, foreground. I like the fact you have used the screen to frame the scene beyond. I think a bit more contrast work on the background to give it some more depth would lift it. One can't help that the water is messy, but it does detract somewhat. 3 points. Acceptance. Laughing Kookaburra. Sharon King. Good crop and light on the kookaburra, but again, this image is rather soft on the eye. I can only guess that maybe a too slow shutter speed was used, in combination with a big crop, though, the tail seems sharper, so maybe it is a focus point issue. Sometimes shooting wide open, or with an extender can also produce softer images. But kookaburras are fun to shoot, wish they didn't always sit so high. 3 points. Acceptance. Opening the Champagne. Julie Phillips. A fun image, though I can't help wonder why we are opening champagne in the middle of the street. The background is quite busy and detracts. A much tighter crop would remove a lot of the distractions, add a vignette, and the young woman will be much stronger focal point in the image. 3 points. Acceptance. Redundant Renewables Akarula. Anne Starkey. A difficult scene to shoot, with so much happening in the background and not really being able to shoot shallow to make the windmills stand out more from the background. Has a story though. Handled exposure well. 3 points. Acceptance. Threesome. John Morland. Water drop refractions are fun. I am not sure if it is because of resizing, but the drops aren't really quite clear. They certainly are not that easy to do, and I'm thinking, if you hadn't, maybe focusing on each and focus stacking would have been better. You do need to use a decent DOF when shooting macro type images. I love the little toadstool in the drops, and the colors are really nice in the background. 3 points. Acceptance. B-52 Corella. Daryl Starkey. Catching a bird in flight towards you is not easy, and you have done well. Exposure a little tricky with white birds. I can't help but notice that you have done PS work around the bottom branch. Not sure why, the background does look quite good, but maybe that was part of the work you did. You do need to be very careful when doing this type of work, to ensure the edges are natural looking. Unfortunately, it is prominent enough to draw the eye to it. A skill to build on. Also, if ever entering nature, remember you can't do this type of work to it. Bird capture is good though. 4 points. Highly commended. Japanese Garden 2. Mike Jones. I like the way you have taken this image. You feel drawn in under the tree, and lovely red colors. Not sure what processing you used, but the image has a painting feel about it. The reds though do seem smudged. Could happen when saturated, and the leaves are not really clear. I am a bit confused on this image, as parts look good and clear, other parts look a bit smudged and out of focus, so not sure what the issue is. Composition is really good, as I said. You feel you are under the tree and it draws you in. 4 points. Highly commended. Shoot. Lisa Guy. Good timing on the action. I love sports photography, but it can be a real challenge at times. Backgrounds can be a pain. I wonder if shooting with a shallower aperture here would have isolated the players more. Also, cropping in tighter would help as well. We really don't need the foreground grass or so much tree above the hoop. They don't add to the action story. Good exposure. Hope he got the shot. Nice that we have these places in our parks for people to have some fun and exercise. 4 points. Highly commended. Sitting pretty in the evening glow. Sharon King. Nice late light which creates a nice golden feel. Pretty image. Nice position of the wren in the frame. Wren does seem a touch of out focus, again, could be a downsizing issue. 4 points. Highly commended. Splash 113. John Morland. You have a creative splash here. Interesting elements. I feel the black is a bit of a strong background to use, as it is showing through the thinner parts of the water, or whatever you may have used, and making the liquid harder, busier. I don't know how to put it into words on paper. Good timing though, and interesting colors and collision. 4 points. Highly commended. Steampunk Girl. Stephen Matthews. A very interesting looking young lady, and a good crop. Light was fairly bright so a touch overexposed in parts, but you did well. Often using a flash to balance out the light is good, but to be honest, flash is probably the last thing many of us think of when we go out during the day. Anyway, what you could do here is lift the shadows a little, face, and reduce the highlights, arm. Nice eye contact and detail. 4 points. Highly commended. Alone again. Anne Starkey. Very nice image of the tinny. Good use of foreground to add interest and lead into the image. Good detail and exposure, though a bit bright in some areas of the cloud, can bring some of that back if you shot in RAW, and maybe even a little if from a JPEG. Using LR or ACR and reducing highlights helps with this. 6 points. Merit. Downtown Manhattan from Brooklyn Bridge. Lisa Guy. What an unusual viewpoint, and I really like this image. Good detail throughout. Light feels flat. A small tweak with your blacks will boost the image, and even a small tweak in vibrance to bring out some more of the colorful buildings. 6 points. Merit. Fun at the beach. Jenny King. Fun capture. I think all kids love to flick water with their hair. You have caught this well, and nicely processed, but I don't think you need quite as much on the bottom and would suggest a crop so the girl is stronger in the frame. 6 points. Merit. Fungi Agarix 1. Judy Dawkins. I like the angle you have taken this with, showing some light coming through the fungi gills. The foliage it is growing out of is interesting as well. 6 points. Merit. On the boardwalk. Baden Smith. A very pretty scene, and I like the grasses in the foreground. Image feels just a smidgen off kilter. Maybe a bit of a play with dodge and burn to add just a touch more depth to the image. The path leads nicely into the rest of the image. Good detail. 6 points. Merit. Peaceful day on the bay. Jenny King. Pretty scene with nice light on the boats. I am a bit of a serial cropper, so I'm thinking take a bit off the bottom where the water becomes pale again. For me doesn't really add to the image and I think would improve composition. Add a subtle vignette to darken off the bottom ever so slightly. Good detail throughout. 6 points. Merit. Water wall. Eric Anderson. These types of images are quite creative, and I like what you have here. It does feel a touch dark overall, so a small increase in exposure levels will help, and maybe a bit on the colorful areas. But the image keeps you interested at looking at all the elements which are nicely balanced in the frame. 6 points. Merit. Black-faced wallaby. Daryl Starkey. A lovely shot of the wallaby in its environment, natural looking. Has good eye contact to engage you. The grass bits in the mouth add to the story. 9 points. Honors. Black eagles near miss. Mike Jones. Good capture. Using a telephoto lens has compressed the distances between these planes so they look much closer than they are, but you still get that, wow, so close feeling. A very colorful image. I am thinking though, that is quite a large crop, and some of the pixels are suffering just a little. It is still an eye-catching image though and great timing. 9 points. Honors. City living. Tony Sobolewski. An interesting image that really keeps you looking at all the different elements in the scene. The reflections are great. Light is a little flat, a small tweak in contrast would be good I think. 9 points. Honors. Crater Creek Cascade. Baden Smith. I like these close-in images of creeks, and the use of a slow shutter speed. Good composition, detail and exposure. 9 points. Honors. Docklands. Eric Anderson. Another lovely image of this area. An interesting scene that makes you look throughout the image. The colored lights are attractive and well exposed. Lovely detail. 9 points. Honors. Evening Glow. Anne MacDonald. A lovely scene. I like the slow shutter speed used and the star effect of the moon. Good composition. I like the glow on the rocks. I think you have dust bunnies on the very left, easy to remove if you want to use this image in external competitions. 9 points. Honors. Flying Lemon. Teresa Johnson. Lol. Interesting title, but a great color to add dimension to the image. Well caught, good timing and detail. 9 points. Honors. Fungi. Agarics 2. Judy Dawkins. A very pretty shot of the fungi in its environment. Good exposure and crop, and good detail. 9 points. Honors. Harbell's Hut. Rob Dawkins. Wow. What a lovely old shack this is. I had to Google to find out more, and impressed by the photographer's fitness to get this image. Amazing what is out there when you get off the beaten track. The mist adds a lovely mood. Good exposure. Composition. Just wonder if a bit of extra darkening of some of the darker timbers would add just a bit of extra depth, and maybe a few of the rocks, thinking using multiply method with the history brush. The surrounding forest is interesting as well. 9 points. Honors. I Want It. Julie Phillips. I just love this. What a great candid capture. A lovely expression on the young lad's face, beautifully captured and good detail, exposure and processing. An image to put into an international in my books. 9 points. Honors. Pink Robin on Branch. Rob Dawkins. Such a pretty bird, and a lovely shot. Eye is nice and sharp, and the bird fills the frame well. 9 points. Honors.
Your coffee. Tony Sobolewski. What would we do without coffee? We sell well over 1 million in a day. This is a good shot, well taken, good exposure and crop. Could maybe just tweak the levels in both white and black sliders, but only a tweak. Love the reaching out with the coffee, good timing, tells the story well. Good detail. 9 points. Honors.